In this episode, I want to share with you guys exactly what I did to help accelerate my financial freedom journey in my 20s. I'm now 29 and I absolutely love getting up in the morning doing what I love best. I hope there's a few nuggets here that you can take away for yourself so that you can start implementing this, whether it's in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. There are some gold nuggets here that I think you can really benefit from. If you're interested, keep listening. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, go and check out the 150 odd videos that talk about real estate, cryptocurrency, and financial freedom. If you're listening to this on the podcast on the go, then welcome for the first time, and go and check out all the previous episodes because I think there's a nugget of gold in every single episode. Now, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, that's not really the concern here. What the concern is, there's too many people complaining about dumb shit and they're actually not getting things done. Now, for me, I want to share with you some of the stuff that I've done, bit of a story time, I suppose, but that's just to give you some context. It's definitely not a brag about, oh, look how good I am. I did this in my 20s. Screw you. No, it's definitely not that. It's to just showcase that I'm not just talking about shit that I just read about. It's stuff that I've actually been implementing, testing out on myself, and that's why I feel confident and comfortable bringing out so much content around these topics now to share with you guys. Because I've gone through it. I sort of know where most people are, and when I talk to people on strategy sessions, I get a good idea of where they are mentally, what they're feeling, and what sort of barriers are holding them back into actually actioning things. Now, before I jump into this, I do want to get your attention onto Confusion to Clarity, the online course. Now, yes, you could probably go, oh my God, here he goes, talks about his online course again. Confusion to Clarity is around the stuff that I've learned when I was building up my real estate portfolio. It was how I found from getting from point A to point B, buying my first investment. So whether that was an investment property for me or whether that's a home for yourself, I think it's worthwhile checking out, especially when you're going out and forking out $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes. It's worthwhile getting the right education in before you go and do that. Go and watch all these videos that I have on the channel for free. And if you think there's value there, I'm telling you there's so much more value in the Confusion to Clarity course. Now, on the channel, I've already spoken about the technicals, like how much of a deposit do you need? How much do you need of this? And what's cash flow? And what's positive gearing? I've already spoken about that. There's stuff on the YouTube channel already. What I want to focus on is just taking a step back and looking at the macro, looking at some of the bigger issues that potentially hold us back or are the things that can really help accelerate us. So hopefully you can kick back and really absorb this information. Now, number one thing is income. This is one of those things that people often talk about, but don't really understand. When I say income, it is very, very important that you have certainty around your income. So that means, yes, I can say, well, you want real estate and then you want to escape the 9 to 5 in the rat race and then you can do whatever you like. Yes, that's fine. But the reality is your 9 to 5 is very important. And don't get this wrong. If you don't have that, you have a business or whatever it is, you need certainty in your income because that is the only way a bank is actually going to give you a loan. You need income. Now, it's not just good enough having the income because, you come out of your 20s, you're going to uni, you're doing your master's degrees, or whatever it is. Then you go out into the real workforce, you start working your way up. Now, for some people, you might stop at $40,000, $50,000. For some, you got aspirations to go and become managing director or a partner, and then you're earning $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Either way, it comes down to income versus expenses. So one of the things I learned very early in my 20s was that income from my 9 to 5 or from my business was actually worth a lot more. So if I go into work and I didn't really like going in, and say I was making $60,000, right? That $60,000 was not just $60,000. It was $60,000 that allowed me to go get a loan to then build up an asset portfolio worth $500,000, million, $2 million, $3 million, right? So that's how I started thinking about it. Now, I know for a lot of you guys that are out there thinking, should I even bother getting a role that's higher, promoting, and then go and just get another job somewhere else? What's another 10K? Well, yeah, true. What's another 10K if you have to work an extra hour a week? But it's not just that. You've got to think about the bigger picture here. Me going out there and having a nightclub business, there were nights that I didn't want to do things, but I knew an extra $10 here, extra $20 there, extra couple of hundred here and there, that was actually going to add to my servicing and my serviceability. So that's where I want you to focus on your 9 to 5, but always try and grow. Because if the goal is to escape from the 9 to 5, you've got to feed that machine. The only way you're going to feed that is through your 9 to 5 and actually working. Because once you're generating more money, you can invest more money, right? It's the abundance mindset. I've spoken about this very vaguely, a few months ago from memory, right? Know that I spoke about this. People are saving money just for the sake of saving money. Like, oh, I'm getting ahead. Saving money is now like the riskiest thing you could do. I mean, apart from just blowing all your money, if you just go and simply save your money, you're saving an asset which you think is just cash, right? So fiat currency and cash is actually a risky asset to invest in. You know, people come out and say, oh, crypto's risky, you know, it drops by this much, it drops by that much. But we're looking at the day to day. When you start looking at the macro and you start looking at what's it worth in 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years, you then start realizing how risky fiat currency actually is. So yes, despite the fact that you may not have a drop by 30% overnight, over the last 50, 60 years, it's dropped by more than 90% of its purchasing power. So that doesn't seem like a very good investment for me. Now, not only that, but if you have an abundance mindset, you're going to spend more, you're going to go in and educate yourself, whether that's through time, whether that's through money, mentorships, you know, having the mentors around you, education, seminars, whatever it is. You go out there and you're actively trying to attract all those things. I've got an abundance of money. It's how do I afford these things? How can I do something so I can afford these things? Not that I can't afford that. It's a very negative way to look at it. It's the same thing that goes for people who want to save because they want to reduce their expenses. Well, it's the same people not trying to pay more tax. They're like, oh, I want to reduce my taxes. Abundance, right? I'm happy paying tax because I make more money, right? So if I can focus on making more money, I'm going to get a lot more choice come my way if I go and, you know, invest. But you can't even get to investing if you don't feed the machine, which is the core being the income. So that's how when you hear people come on YouTube or Facebook ads, or maybe the YouTube ads that run before my videos that say, you know, this person bought 10, 15, 20 properties, whatever it is. At the end of the day, they needed income. Let's not get that wrong, right? It's income that allows you servicing and that allows you to go ahead and keep moving with your property portfolio. So same thing for me is if my income doesn't increase by a certain amount every year, I'm not going to be able to afford buying more properties with more debt. It's that simple. Number 2 is education. This is very undervalued, and I think it's after the fact that you realize how undervalued it is. Say, for instance, something like the Patreon mastermind, right? It's completely sold out, so I'm not shilling you anything. I can't tell you that right now. I'm not sure when you're watching this or, you know, listening to this, but at the moment, it's completely booked out and has been booked out for the last 2 months. Now, the thing is, when initially I brought it out, people were like, I'm not paying this dude to be in this mastermind for X amount of money, right? But yet, if you really calculated how much you're spending on coffee, how much you're spending on eating out, and then you realize when you're looking at your financial health, there was nothing there keeping you accountable. Now, the guys that are in the mastermind know they don't want to leave because there's a waiting list now to get into the mastermind. And I kept saying to you guys, I was like, hey, this is going to be really undervalued because I'm literally on there every single day, a couple of times a day, and I'm sharing exactly what my thoughts are. And there's conversation going back and forth. So the people that come in and they're like, sort of plan to be here for like a month. Now they're staying and they're going, okay, I can see the benefit of it. So what I'm saying is, if you're one of those people that sort of see something and you see there's a cost attached to it, you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Strategy session, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I can get something for free, right? It's what you pay for. Why do you pay so much for certain things? And it's, you know, perceived value and whatnot. But in this case, it was the education access, right? It was, oh, I can go and watch these videos and I've learned so much, but then, oh, I'm not going to pay for the course. Yeah. But then I get emails from people like, oh, I've been watching all your videos. I really want to know X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you know, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it in every second or third video that you should go check out the online course. But it's like we're asking for these quick wins and freebies and whatnot, right? And that's where we get stuck because we're like, oh, we've got some information that was for free, so I'm going to continue trying to get it for free. And you end up wasting so much time. I know for me, early 20s, I was in that same boat where I'm like, oh, I don't really want to spend this much. I'm sure I could figure it out. Yeah, I could figure it out. But what you realize over time is that your time is your biggest asset. The money isn't. So if you have an abundance mindset to go, I'm ready to invest in myself, well, then you're empowering yourself as well because you're going to go, well, I'm paying for this. I better learn something. And then you go into like this beast mode where you suddenly start upgrading and you upgrade very quickly. It's the same thing as like a business. If you go out there and you're like, okay, well, if I go and hire someone, I've got to pay someone, right? But if I want to do this myself, I'll just do it myself. It's an extra hour a week. Oh, but then there's 10 other tasks. Oh, okay, an hour a week, an hour a week, an hour a week. And now suddenly I'm now I've got no time to do anything else, and I'm really just involved in my business. That's why you scale up. Same thing is in regards to outsourcing particular things in your business, or whether it's, your property portfolio or your financial mindset. You need to start outsourcing that, because I think for me, that was my key unlock. Early 20s, I'm like, nah, screw that. My late 20s, ever since 25, 26, 27, now I'm 29, I've gone, how do I outsource this to the experts? I'm ready to pay top dollar to get the advice, to get the right people involved, because now I know that if I get the right thing from them, that could mean 10, 20, 30x for what I can do with that information. Same thing is that we're spending way too long on the upfront cost, but we're not realizing the ultimate benefit. And as soon as I started doing that, I started realizing that there's something there that a lot of people are missing out on. That's how we got taught. We were taught to look out for these things. Oh, it's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. Oh, I don't want to touch that. It's volatile. Oh, okay. Oh, that doesn't make sense to me. He's a fake artist or whatever it is. People are flexing for whatever reason. I'm coming out here being transparent as all hell. But that's what I think. I think if you are thinking like the 99%, you'll achieve the results of the 99%. You got to think differently. The same things that people have been doing for years is not going to work moving forward. So if you think that the traditionalist way of doing things is the only way, you need to get the right education. Whether you pay for it, whether you get it for free, whether you go and put the work in, you're in a market where things are moving very quickly. You need to get into that very quickly. Otherwise, you're just falling behind. So as much as you don't want to pay the upfront stuff, you're realizing that by not paying and getting involved early, you're actually losing money every single day. So that's something to think about, is how much is your education really worth? The next point I want to make is I said goodbye to fake teachers. I've said this before, and there's a book definitely recommend reading, whether it's Kindle, audiobook, whatever it is, Fake by Robert Kiyosaki. You are going to realize there is a whole different world out there, and the people you've been listening to are wrong. There's just so much useless information by useless people. They're just not an expert in it, right? It's like coming to me and going, hey, Ravi, can you fix my car? Can you do this? What do you reckon? The oil, the temperature? I don't know anything about a car. Like, hey, can you change the tires? Coolant, I think is a thing. Spark plugs, I believe is another thing. And brake pads, because these are all issues I've had. The mechanics told me about them, right? But apart from that, I've got no idea about those. To be honest, it's useless information to me, because the return on investment for me is zero. I have no passion for it. I don't want to learn it. And if something happens with the car, I'll go get it fixed, right? But the same information for a mechanic, return on investment 100x, right? Because they need that information to then make a living. That's what they're passionate about. If that fulfills them internally, that's even better, right? That is different. And that's the way I think about, information that we sort of come into. Random advice from random people is always a mistake. Right? Random uncle, hey, I heard you want to invest in property. Okay, no problems. I think you should do this and this and this. The nephew or the niece aren't even asking, hey, uncle, like, what do you have? Well, why are you giving me this advice? Like, tell me what you've done and why you did it. If they ask those questions, you probably figure it out. Same thing goes for school teachers. Same thing goes for uni advisors and university lecturers. You could be good at teaching, right? You could be good at teaching. But for me, I don't want to be taught by someone who hasn't walked in my shoes. Someone who hasn't gone through this in the same time that I'm going through it and being relatable. That to me is like, mate, I'm not listening to you. I don't care what you have to say, because it's not relatable, and you're going through things that worked 30 years ago, but you're automatically thinking they're going to work today, despite you not doing those things. So the same people who will probably come to you and say Bitcoin's a scam, I guarantee you in the next 5, 10, 15 years, either they change their perspective, right, which would be awesome, because, they need to be adaptive, otherwise they die, or two, they're going to continue thinking it's a scam. Now, Warren Buffett, right, one of the greatest investors ever, he still thinks it's a bad idea. He still thinks it's a scam, and he thinks it's a Ponzi scheme and whatever. If that's not proof enough for you to realize that people need to adapt or die, I don't know what is. Now, there's going to be people probably jump into the comment section on YouTube and give me their 2 cents about why it's not, and it's not an investment, or whatever it is. Same thing I get from when I say, renting versus buying your own home. There's so many things, and people have their own views. Again, am I paying so much attention to people that give me shit in my comments, or people that give shit to other people or give them advice? I get constantly on a strategy session and people are like, oh, well, that dude told me, and my uncle told me, and my mum told me, or my dad told me. Like, we need to take accountability about the information we receive. The fake teachers, not interested. Thank you very much for listening. If you're a fake teacher, this video is probably not for you. For me, I only talk about the stuff I know and I try and help you, but you see this on social media all the time. Oh, I did this and I can help you do this and 10x your money and do this and do that. Then in reality, you ask them, hey, what do you have? And I'm not telling you what I have. Oh, hold up. I'm trusting you to help me with my money, yet you're not going to tell me what you do. It's the same thing with I love it with life coaches. You get it. I'm 22. I'm a life coach. The F do you know about life at 22, right? So for me, I just don't understand it. Is if you haven't done it for a sustained period of time, you aren't relatable to certain people. But yeah, the context is key. Like if you are working 100 hours a week and you want to be the partner in that company or whatever it is, then, you're probably going to have to ask someone who's also working 100 hours a week or, what their day actually looks like. For me, I'm not like that. So if you're sort of watching my content going, okay, well, I want to have best of all worlds. I want to have a balance because that to me is success. Success for me is not my name on the board, on the wall and be like, oh, look, I got my name on there, but, I don't have a relationship, I'm divorced or whatever it is. That to me isn't success. To some others, maybe, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the key here is balance and context. So the people that come into your life to offer you advice, you need to really audit who they are because there's only ever a couple of people in your team that you really need to listen to on that level. And so you better make sure the people that are in there are the right people. The final point that I'll make about how me building my real estate empire or property portfolio, whatever you want to call it, right? Clickbait for YouTube. The final point is who is able to really distance the logic from the emotion when investing. Now, whether it's ETFs, shares, crypto, buying Pokemon cards, whatever it is, right? The logic from the emotion. Now, the caveat to this is when you look at stuff like that's nostalgic and you're really playing at emotion, like Pokemon cards and things like that, then yes, the distance between the two are a lot smaller. But when it comes to something like real estate, you're not living there. You're not actually looking at this property as a property to live in. You're looking at it as an investment, a transport vehicle to get you to the end goal, being financial freedom. So the biggest hurdle I found for me, the hardest part, was to go and distance the head and the emotion, right? The emotion and what my heart was saying. And so that was really difficult for me. And I know that it took time and time again to really understand, why am I doing this? Yes, I'm purchasing a property, but Ravi told me no emotion. I get it, right? I've been through that and it gets easier every single time. If we start sort of changing our mindset about how we're approaching this, then we are able to get to those sort of results. 99%, whether it's 99%, 85%, I don't know. It's a large majority of people that get this wrong, especially with real estate, because, real estate's easy to get into, but hard to get right. Okay. So I've said this before and I say it all the time. If you can be someone that can distance the emotion from the logic, you will do really well. I think fundamentally why the property portfolio has been growing, why I think, in my 20s, I've made use of the time that I've had and without really extending myself too much, just thinking outside of the box. If I like going out and I'm young, but I also want a part-time job, which, is outside of normal hours, I'll get into nightclub promotion. But if I get into nightclub promotion, then other people around me start having their opinions about me. They're like, oh, look at this guy. Like, he works at a nightclub. He must not be making enough from his day job. Or things like, I became a DJ. Oh, look at this guy. Like, he's just got to pack up shit, pick up speakers, this and that. It looks, I had my fair share of doubt and haters. The reality is, I knew. I was like rocking up. I'm like, mate, you can say whatever you like, but at the end of the day, I know I need to hit a certain number before the next financial year so that I can go and borrow more for my property. And now obviously it's a different case, right? I'm coming out onto YouTube. Some people still think it's like, oh, look at this guy. Who does he think he is? At the end of the day, I'm trying to just put out quality content and you guys decide whether it's good or not. So if you have enjoyed this, whether you're listening to the audio podcast, leave a review, even if it's one line. Awesome. That'd be great. If you're watching this on YouTube, share it with someone and like the video, because the YouTube algorithm that's just brought you here, let's bring some more people into the community. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.